Hi guys, Frankie V here with a behind the scenes update as to what I'm working on at the moment. And one of the inquiries that have been made in the past is the questionable appearance of Algiers in Resurgence. And just to confirm that I have at least the layout kind of blocked out as to inclusion. And as you can see, a lot of work still needs to be done. And I figured, just to keep people a little bit informed of what is actually coming, which is of a lot more benefit than us trying to hide stuff and say, well, it's top secret and we don't want anybody stealing our ideas and blah blah blah, etc. I'll give you a run through of what stage we're at. Is basically the blocking out of the layout. As you can see here, there's different buildings that are involved as part of our streaming levels. This is actually a good way of being able to put in various blocks, as in being able to just turn stuff off and working on each individual element as being standalone, and then bringing in and iterating in a much more logical and easier to manage progression than for the conversion progression process, rather than trying to put all the little parts in one at a time and hoping that your overall scale will kind of match up with the original map. So the nice thing about Unreal 4 is to be able to work with templates. We do not have to have the development of an environment to being done within the game actual, but rather use templates and sandboxes to be able to feed in the kind of materials and assets that we want, as well as allowing the individual map maker or environment designer to work in a manner that they're most comfortable with, rather than applying a whole bunch of rules as to what is required to maintain a safe update, so to speak. So basically, anything that I need, as you can see down here, I have a fair number of assets that I'm going to be making use of, and I have a lot more than this. So by the time I'm done, my content library is going to be probably in the range of about easily about 100 gigabytes, or maybe even more than that, as to usable assets. Uh, so this is kind of gives you an idea as to how comparable the Resurgence version versus the older IdTech 3 version is going to be, as to scaling. Very similar. In this case, I'm just simply using a template, you might want to say, of a guy that's just running around in the environment, so I can make sure that we're not clipping through various areas of the map, but to get a sense of the overall size and scale relative to, in this case, a player that was 6'3". Our player models are actually all 6 foot, so that's another topic for another day as to how we have that kind of setup. But this would be this particular epic based character is a great way to get a sense of relative scaling as to the overall map being imported in from its say original player map currently in 4.2 or 4.3 in this case. we have updated, so to speak, and then keep referencing back and forth until it looks the way it's supposed to. Also gives the opportunity to splash on some material or do some fabrication using whoops, as you can see, we can fall through the map. uh, so that's kind of staged. So the actual map itself is being built in as a complete environment within 3ds Max, as to a relative scale that matches up with what I have in Unreal 4. And I've been creating much more detailed facades, so to speak, with UV mapping. So each of these will be brought in as a replacement for a given building block. So everything will be continue to be broken down further into instant type of components, which which will allow this environment to be rather effective as to added detail. Like for example, these posts here will be instanced inside of Unreal 4 rather than actually exported as a component of this environment here. And this is a good example of this building here where the facade is very low in detail, and then over in Unreal 4, where are you? There you go. In Unreal 4, we can start applying much more bling bling type detail elements and see how they look inside the map. So obviously, until it's actually in the environment and we have it hooked up, gives us a better idea of how it's going to look in combination with the rest of the environment. So what we have here is, it's not too bad. In my opinion, it's a bit noisy. It needs a little bit, it needs to be quieted down a bit more. Say, for example, the windows aren't too bad, but they need to kind of stand out, like from the building. It's as obviously as I start laying in more and more elements in, it should start to say fan out a little bit more as to total impact of an area. So this section down here is just kind of just a quick down and dirty paint job brought in from 3ds Max to see how this connectivity between this side here and this side here would be benefit from a prefabricated asset stuck in the middle of it. And just kind of keep building it upon over time, as in no rush. We already have the layout done, so might as well spend a little bit of time in working with the materials and the facades to create almost let's say almost identical layout as currently is in 4.x. Okay, so I thought this would be make for a interesting, quick, down and dirty update. Just to let you guys know that indeed there is progression being made, and and we're not all asleep at the switch here, so to speak. So I'll catch you in another episode of Behind the Scenes as to the going-ons as to Urban Terror. Mr. NSA Man, yes, it is indeed just a video game. We are not, in fact, urban terrorists. So I guess we'll just call this one done and finish it off. See ya. Bye.